Georgia and this is The Sound of Georgia. Today I'm going to be tier ranking all the musicals I have seen. Now I have done a few of these in the past, but today I'm not ranking them one for one, but we're just doing tier ranking because I needed something relatively easy, and I'm also really going to try and be honest this time. I think there will be some unexpected results. Also, I've made a tier ranking thing online. I'll leave a link to the website where I did it below. So the next several minutes will be just screen capture. You won't be able to see my face. Sorry about that. But let's go. So here is the tier as I've made it. We have Hit the High Note, A Sharp Experience, because, you know, musicals. Would See Again, Once Was Enough, and This Fell Flat. Again, with the symbol there because musicals. Now I'm going on order of when I first saw these musicals. So let's start with Wicked. I made a video a little while ago talking about how my relationship with Wicked is interesting. It was my favourite musical of all time for so many years. And until very, very recently, I would have said it was my second favourite. There was a show that came along later that toppled it off. I'm sure you all know what that is, but we will get to it. But this time last year, I probably would have still said Wicked was my second favourite. But I kind of realised that because it was my favourite back when I was 15, and if something were going to beat it, then logically the next step would be for it to go to second place. But I don't think it is, because it's coming back to Australia soon, and my thoughts when I first heard that were not positive. I was bummed. I did get excited a couple weeks ago when they announced who was going to be playing Elphaba and Glinda. But while it was a positive emotion, it wasn't particularly strong, and it lasted all of 2 days. It's coming back to Australia and I don't care. Nevertheless, it was the first show I saw. It was what got me in love with seeing shows at the theatre. I've seen it 4 times, once in London. So it's going in A Sharp Experience. Even if my thoughts on it now are very apathetic, and every time I think about how it's coming back, I just wish, why can't it be 6? Or why can't Hamilton stay forever? Wicked will always be special to me. Next up we have Mary Poppins. Once Was Enough, even though I have seen it twice. Mary Poppins is the show that kicks my favourite musicals out of the theatre. It kicked Wicked out of the Capitol Theatre, which was the highest offence to 15-year-old me, and it kicked Hamilton out of the Lyric last year. So my thoughts for this musical above anything else will be Homewrecker. I did see it last year, and it was fun. It's a lot of fun in the moment. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious is better on stage, but those thoughts will always come second. Next up is Annie. Once Was Enough. I don't really have anything to say about this one. I can barely remember any of it. Hairspray is very much the same. Once Was Enough. It was recently playing in Sydney, and I didn't go and see it because I had absolutely no desire to. My strongest memory about going to see this one was that Nanny did my hair to look like Penny Pingleton's. Next up is Love Never Dies. Would See Again. I know a lot of people don't like this one. It is fanficky, it is unnecessary, and it does, in a lot of ways, go against what happens with Phantom of the Opera. But it was my first introduction to Phantom of the Opera. I am sure it is part of the reason I'm Team Eric, but I will always be Team Eric. The songs are great. I've seen the pro shot many, many times, And as a show, as a theatre experience, I would recommend it despite everything. No matter how you feel about the plot, I would recommend going and seeing it. I wonder if it's going to be the show that takes over the Majestic Theatre now that Phantom of the Opera has left. I have heard a few things saying Phantom's not going completely. I wouldn't be surprised if Love Never Dies is the next one to go there. Next up, Legally Blonde. This is going in Hit the High Note. This was my second favourite show for a very long time, just behind Wicked. But right now I feel very confident saying I love it more. I had a great time that day. I went with my friend, we went to stage door, we all dressed in pink, it was a lot of fun. But more than that, unlike Mary Poppins, Annie and Hairspray, which I saw with my grandma because seeing shows together was our thing, it wasn't so much about whether I desperately wanted to see the show, it was just a day at the theatre. Unlike all those ones, I actually wanted to see Legally Blonde specifically. My friend and I had watched the pro-shot beforehand and we loved it, and to this day, watching it just makes me smile. Legally Blonde, in one word, makes me happy. I wish it would come back. Next up is Grease. This is going in Once Was Enough. The reason I was most excited about seeing Grease was because I had done the musical before at school. So being able to see the professional version of the musical I had performed in the year before was very nice. But I don't have a strong desire to see it again. Also, I had an epileptic fit later that day, probably because of how intense the lights were in these magic changes. Next up was Dirty Dancing. The day I saw Dirty Dancing was not a good day for me in general. It was not a good day for me for reasons independent of the show. But I saw the show before that day went to hell. And I still remember sitting in that theatre thinking, this is boring. This fell flat. Just watch the movie. The musical does everything the movie did, except the movie did it better. And obviously, seeing the movie will be a lot cheaper. Next up, we have Mamma Mia. I saw this in London, so definitely an experience, but I don't love it enough for it to go in a Sharp experience. Despite my apathy at Wicked right now, it will always have a very special place in my heart. Mamma Mia does not have that. So even though the experience is what's the best part about it for me, I don't love it enough to go to the second tier. In fact, it's about to open in Sydney. I have not bought tickets, nor do I intend to, because Once Was Enough. The Sound of Music. I named my channel after this. Hit the High Note. I have only seen this show once, as far as a professional theatre experience goes. I saw my school do it, and I saw a local production do it when I was about 7, but I have only seen a professional production of Sound of Music once. Whenever it comes back, I will be buying as many tickets as I can as soon as I can, because it means the world to me, despite that scene. Next up is My Fair Lady. Would I love this musical as much if it hadn't been a show Julie Andrews had starred in? No. Would I love this musical as much if I hadn't been to the production directed by Julie herself? No. But I still absolutely love it. And those two things, plus the fact that the second time I saw it, I ran into Nicholas Hammond, mean it is going in a Sharp experience. Next up we have Hamilton. I don't think this is a surprise at all. Hit the High Note. This is my favourite stage musical of all time ever. Out of all the musicals I have seen, the musical I've seen the second most times would be Wicked at 4. Hamilton is 12, and it is still never enough. It will never be enough. I'm not just obsessed with Hamilton, but I think it has fundamentally changed me as a person. I think about a lot of deep issues in almost, philosophical ways that I wouldn't have before I'd listened to Hamilton. And the Australian production got me through the hell that was 2021. And I wish it could stay here forever. Next up, Frozen. I love the movie. It was a great day out. In fact, it was exactly 2 years ago to this date that I saw Frozen. Hugo is hilarious, and I'd say my favourite Elsa song would have to be Monster. This one is going in Would See Again. Next up, 6. Maybe a bit of a shock, but this is going in Hit the High Note. This was hands down my favourite new to me thing of 2022. When I saw it was coming back to Sydney, I just jumped on the chance to buy more tickets. Then I found out my friend couldn't make the date I'd set, so instead of just trying to reschedule, I just bought more tickets. And I regret nothing. I wish I had known it had gone to Canberra after it left Sydney, because I probably would have gone to see it. And every time I think about how Wicked's coming back, all I think is, why can't it be 6 that's coming back? Then we have the dearly departed, just left Broadway when I never ever thought that would happen, Phantom of the Opera. Is this one overrated? Or is it worth all the praise it gets? I can't make that decision for you. What I know is I would see it again. All I wanted to do was give Eric a hug. Next up, Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. This one I was honestly a bit disappointed with, but it wasn't bad enough to go in This Fell Flat. I'm putting it in Once Was Enough. Obviously, Julie Andrews was the original Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, so that was probably part of the reason I was hyped. Also, Nicholas Hammond was in it, also part of the reason I was hyped. But my favourite thing about it, as far as the original 1957 version goes, was just how unique a telling of Cinderella it is. But when you're stretching it out to a 2-hour show, suddenly all the uniqueness gets sapped away. Everything they added was something you'd seen before. It was very well done. Sebastian's ending felt a bit confusing and unfinished, but other than that, everything they added was well done, but also something you'd seen before, and therefore sapped all the uniqueness out of it. Once was definitely enough. Then finally, The Rocky Horror Show. Would see again. In fact, I kind of did. A couple weeks after I went and saw it, at the end of March, they broadcast it live to cinemas. They recorded the Australian production live at the theatre and broadcast it to certain cinemas, and I went and saw it at the cinema. So in a way, I have seen it again. Despite how few people were dressed up, the audience participation is great. You get to do the time warp at the end, and it's awesome. Obviously, I think you should wait until you're a bit older before you see this one, but go and see it. And that's it. That is my official tier ranking of all the musicals I have seen. Let me know, what do you think? Do you approve of my rankings? What's your favourite show out of all the shows on this list? Is your favourite show not on this list? Stay safe, guys. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my video next time. So long, farewell!